Yo, hoop fans, your sideline sage, Tips and Upstreams, is lacing up once again. On deck, deep dives into the freshest NBA clashes, ready to set the planks ablaze. But before we jump the ball, be sure to hammer that subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep hooked with our sharp forecasts and prime selections. All right, let's bounce into today's NBA Crystal Ball reads. The first prediction for today is for the game between Boston Celtics and Detroit Pistons. In an eagerly awaited showdown on the court, the Boston Celtics are gearing up to battle the Detroit Pistons. Fresh from a nail-biting win against the Milwaukee Bucks, the Celtics are showing their true colors with resilience and a deep bench. Jason Tatum, dropping 31 points, has once again proven he's a top-tier forward in the league, with Boston shooting 47.1% from the field and a solid 39.1% from downtown this season. Their offensive prowess is on full display. Sporting a commanding 55-14 record, the Celtics are showcasing their dominance with a strategy that's both high-scoring and stingy on defense, ranking second in scoring and sixth in points allowed. Their knack for drawing fouls and capitalizing on turnovers positions them as the clear favorites. On the flip side, the Detroit Pistons are navigating through troubled waters, underscored by their recent 122-103 defeat to the Pacers. Despite Cade Cunningham's valiant effort, Detroit's shooting at 41.1% and hitting just 21.7% from the three-point line in that match mirror their season-long woes. With a bleak 12-57 record, the Pistons struggle on both ends of the court, especially their inability to stop opponents who shoot at a 49.0% clip is evident. Ranking 19th in offensive efficiency, Detroit's uphill battle becomes steeper when compared to Boston's finesse, making their quest for victory even more challenging. The historical dynamics between these teams lean heavily in Boston's favor, especially considering their recent confrontations. The Celtics' road performance and Detroit's home court struggles suggest that Boston is poised to continue their winning streak. With superior shooting from the field and beyond, coupled with their rebounding prowess, Boston has a significant advantage. Meanwhile, Detroit's lackluster showings in back-to-back games and against top-tier teams like Boston leave much to be desired. Injuries could tip the scales in this matchup. Boston will be without Drew Holiday and Sam Hauser, yet their roster depth and stellar performances from players like Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White should fill the void. Conversely, Detroit's litany of injuries, including Simone Fontecchio and Isaiah Stewart, severely limits their bench strength, diminishing their chances of an upset. Given Boston's offensive and defensive efficiency, their sustained shooting accuracy, and their historical upper hand, particularly in Detroit, a decisive victory for them seems inevitable. The Pistons might look to capitalize on any Celtics complacency, but their track record and statistical deficits do not bode well. With the betting line suggesting the Celtics can cover the 13-point spread, considering their scoring ability and Detroit's defensive issues, it appears likely. Whether the total points will exceed 225 hinges on Detroit's offensive improvement, which seems doubtful, making a bet on the under more enticing. Prediction: the Boston Celtics are poised not just to win, but to also beat the spread against the Detroit Pistons. Their defensive strength and offensive might, against the backdrop of Detroit's poor form and injury problems, suggest a match where Boston cements its status as championship contenders. With the dynamics of both teams in mind, betting on the under for total points is the safer choice, given the Pistons' scoring difficulties. My money's on the Boston Celtics to emerge victorious and cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Oklahoma City Thunder and Toronto Raptors. As the Oklahoma City Thunder prepare to face off against the Toronto Raptors at Scotiabank Arena this Friday, we're anticipating a game that seems skewed in favor of one side. The Thunder, boasting a stellar 48-20 record and coming off a triumphant battle with the Jazz, have shown their prowess both inside the paint and from downtown. With Chet Holmgren leading the charge with a dazzling 35.14 rebound performance, Oklahoma City's scoring blitz has been their hallmark this season, averaging 120.7 points per game, and sinking free throws at an 83.1% rate adds a reliable punch to their offense. Conversely, the Raptors are hitting a rough patch, trying to regain their stride after an 8-game downturn, which leaves them with a 23-46 tally. Their defeat at the hands of the Kings underscored their current struggles, such as turnovers and shooting only 41.3% from the field. Despite Gary Trent Jr.'s valiant efforts, Toronto's offense can't seem to match up with the more dynamic scoring teams, and their defensive mishaps often have them trailing behind. The Thunder's path to victory appears smooth, given their superior shooting finesse and knack for dominating the boards. Oklahoma City's defense, adept at throwing off the opponent's rhythm, will be key in thwarting the Raptors' hope for a comeback. While Toronto shows occasional sparks of potential, their inconsistency and difficulty in sealing the deal could be their downfall against the Thunder. Looking at their past encounters and performances in Toronto, the Thunder have often emerged victorious against the Raptors, especially in tight situations. Oklahoma City's ability to handle consecutive games further tilts the scale in their favor. The Raptors' challenge in containing teams that excel in scoring and rebounding is exacerbated by Oklahoma City's strengths in these areas. The betting lines favoring the Thunder by 15 points with an over-under at 228 underline the expected disparity. With the Thunder's scoring capabilities and the Raptors' defensive struggles, a high-scoring game is likely on the cards. Yet, Oklahoma City's recent form suggests they could surpass expectations and push beyond the predicted total points. In essence, the Oklahoma City Thunder are primed not just to win, but also to beat the spread. Their scoring depth and disciplined defense are poised to overwhelm the faltering Raptors. While Toronto may find fleeting moments of success, Oklahoma City's consistency and offensive power are set to shape the story of this game. The Thunder are expected to continue their winning streak, leveraging their strengths against Toronto's weaknesses. The Raptors' form and the Thunder's momentum indicate a comfortable victory and spread coverage for Oklahoma City. My bet is on the Thunder to clinch the win and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between New Orleans Pelicans and Miami Heat. As the New Orleans Pelicans square off against the Miami Heat in a thrilling cross-conference showdown, the air is charged with anticipation. The Pelicans boast a commendable record of 34-22 overall and an even more striking 17-10 on their home turf, setting the stage for a formidable challenge against the Heat. Miami, holding a 30-25 overall and a 15-12 away record, has had the upper hand in their recent matchups, securing victories in their last 6 encounters. Yet, this game signals a new chapter in their competitive saga. Emerging from a robust victory over the Nets with a 104-91 scoreline, the Pelicans displayed their defensive mastery by restricting Brooklyn to a paltry 36.9% field shooting. Their game was further amplified by 29 assists and a dominant rebounding performance, underscoring their supremacy on both ends of the court. Zion Williamson, in particular, was a spectacle, netting 28 points with a remarkable 68.8% shooting accuracy, cementing his role as a pivotal figure for New Orleans. Meanwhile, the Miami Heat, coming off a nail-biting 107-104 triumph over the Cavaliers, showcased their tenacity and clutch capabilities, with Terry Rozier and Jimmy Butler at the helm. Rozier's late-game magic, marked by a decisive three-pointer, accentuated Miami's knack for sealing tight contests. Even in the absence of key players Bam Adebayo and Duncan Robinson, the Heat demonstrated their depth and versatility, propelled by Butler's 30-point contribution. Statistically, the Pelicans shine with an average of 116.0 points per game at a 48.9% shooting accuracy, and their 38.0% success rate from the three-point line speaks to their sharpshooting prowess. Coupled with an average of 44.6 rebounds per game, their offensive and defensive synergy renders them a formidable force. On the defensive end, their knack for inducing 14.2 turnovers per game and restricting opponents to a 45.9% shooting efficiency highlights their defensive rigor. On the flip side, Miami's average of 109.7 points on 46.4% shooting might not rival New Orleans' offensive output, but is compensated by their defensive strategy. With an ability to limit opponents to 109.2 points and a 46.9% shooting accuracy, coupled with an 81.3% free throw shooting precision, the Heat's defense stands tall. Their prowess at the free throw line could be pivotal in a tightly contested game. Facing a back-to-back game scenario after a loss to the Magic, the Pelicans may contend with fatigue. Typically, teams in such situations face challenges, more so against a well-rested adversary like the Heat. Nevertheless, New Orleans' resilience and home advantage might tilt the balance in their favor. Weighing the team's statistics, historical head-to-head outcomes, and current form, the scales tip slightly towards the Pelicans, especially with Zion Williamson in top form. Their offensive efficiency, paired with defensive solidity and recent momentum, places them in a favorable position. Nonetheless, Miami's strategic depth and resilience, underscored by potential game changers like Adebayo and Rozier, warrant attention. In summary, despite Miami being pegged as the favorite with a 2.5-point advantage, the Pelicans' blend of offensive dynamism and defensive strength, spearheaded by Williamson's exceptional performance, positions them as contenders to not only cover the spread, but also to clinch the win. A closely fought contest is anticipated, but the Pelicans are primed to end Miami's winning run against them, with the game's total points expected to fall short of the 209 threshold, given the defensive caliber of both teams. My pick is on the New Orleans Pelicans to beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Cleveland Cavaliers and Minnesota Timberwolves. Tonight's clash at the Target Center, featuring the Cleveland Cavaliers squaring off against the Minnesota Timberwolves, promises to be an epic showdown of grit and tactics as each squad navigates their roster's bruises and breaks. The Cavs, fresh off a win against the Pacers yet stumbling in matchups with the Rockets and Heat, display a blend of toughness and susceptibility. They're dropping 113.4 points per game on an impressive 47.9% from the field, though their defensive leaks, allowing 109.4 points, cast doubt on their ability to clamp down on the Timberwolves' attack. Missing Donovan Mitchell due to a nasal fracture, with Evan Mobley and Max Strus also on the bench, thins out their ranks, particularly facing a Wolves team boasting a 48.4% shooting touch and a slightly tighter defense. On the other side, the Timberwolves are weaving through the season with a mix of highs and lows, bagging wins against the Clippers and Jazz but faltering against the Nuggets. With a scoring average shadowing the Cavs at 113.3 points and a more formidable defense at a 106.7 points allowed, their defensive clout might just tip the scales. Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are key, though Towns' absence could throw a wrench in their plans. Their roster depth, with Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid's status up in the air, will face a true test. Digging into the stats, both teams are neck and neck in offensive firepower and defensive might, but the Wolves edge out slightly in shooting efficiency and defensive stats. Playing at home, the Target Center advantage is not to be overlooked, especially with both teams showing recent form and historical performances in such matchups. Historically, the battles in Minneapolis have been closely contested, yet the Cavs have snatched pivotal victories on the road against Western foes post-loss. However, the Wolves have their own streak of bouncing back against Eastern contenders, even with some hiccups on Fridays against winning squads. Injuries are the wild card in tonight's matchup, with both sides feeling the pinch. The Cavs, missing Mitchell, Mobley, and Strus, might find their offensive rhythm and flexibility hampered. Yet the Wolves, potentially without Towns and maybe Gobert and Edwards, still pack enough punch to test the Cavs' defense, especially with Edwards poised to shine. With the current dynamics, injury scenarios, and the Wolves' slight edge in efficiency and defense, coupled with the home court leverage, Minnesota is tipped to triumph despite hurdles. Expect the Cavs to match the Wolves' scoring pace, turning this bout into a nail-biter, especially in crunch time. The game's total points are pegged at 201.5, mirroring both teams' scoring prowess and defensive gaps. Considering the injury worries and the chance for key players to sit out, anticipate a more guarded and contested affair, potentially tilting towards a lower score. Wrapping up, given the Timberwolves' home fortress, defensive sharpness, and both squads' injury concerns, Minnesota seems primed for the win. Yet, when it comes to beating the spread, the edge goes to the Cavaliers. Bettors, keep an eye on last-minute injury updates that might shift the scales. The game will undeniably be swayed by strategic player absences and on-the-fly adjustments. With the current info, my money's on the Cleveland Cavaliers to beat the 7-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Memphis Grizzlies and San Antonio Spurs. As the Memphis Grizzlies lace up to take on the San Antonio Spurs at the Frostbank Center, this clash is shaping up to be anything but a typical NBA regular season matchup. Both squads are hitting the court with a mix of recent hiccups and moments of sheer brilliance this season, hinting that they're ready to flip the script at the drop of a hat. Despite grappling with injuries and sitting on the lower rungs of the scoring ladder with an average of 106 points per game on a 43.7% shooting clip, the Grizzlies have shown tenacity. Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. have been lighting it up for Memphis, with Bane making a splashy return to the hardwood and Jackson Jr. consistently dropping 20-plus points. Yet, their recent outings on the road and defensive gaps, conceding 118 or more points in a few of their last outings, spotlight the hurdles they're facing. On the flip side, the San Antonio Spurs, though they've been finding it tough to rack up wins, have watched their rookie phenom Victor Wembanyama not just meet, but soar past expectations, chalking up an impressive 20.7 points and 10.4 rebounds on average. The Spurs have been edging out the Grizzlies in scoring, averaging 112.3 points on a 46.3% shooting effort. However, their defensive woes are on full display, as they've been letting through an average of 119.7 points on a 49.1% shooting from the opposition, which has them languishing near the bottom in defensive standings. Both teams have wrestled with consistency, but with the Spurs playing on their home court and the Grizzlies nursing their injury list, these factors could tip the scales in this showdown. Looking back at their encounters, the Grizzlies have had the Spurs' number, clinching the win in their last 12 matchups. This streak, coupled with their knack for staying competitive despite their injury woes, makes this game a must-watch. The Spurs, even as the odds makers pick with a 6-point spread, might find it a tall order to fend off a Grizzlies squad that's synonymous with hustle and heart. Eyeing the stats and recent form, expect a nail-biter with both teams having their defensive struggles, but also possessing the firepower to light up the scoreboard. The Grizzlies' fighting spirit, along with their historical upper hand over the Spurs, positions them as a good bet to beat the 6-point spread. The over-under, pegged at 218 points, adds another layer of intrigue, given both teams' offensive potential and defensive frailties. Anticipate a scorefest, likely surpassing the predicted total as both teams aim to flex their offensive muscles. Wrapping up, while the Spurs might boast the home court edge and a slightly sharper offensive form, the Grizzlies' proven track record of overcoming odds, combined with the defensive lapses on both sides, hints at a showdown that could easily eclipse the total points prediction. With the Grizzlies' historical supremacy and the form of key players like Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., it's a smart wager to back Memphis to overcome the 6-point spread in what's shaping up to be a display of offensive fireworks. My money's on the Memphis Grizzlies to outdo the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Indiana Pacers and Golden State Warriors. In an eagerly awaited court battle, the Indiana Pacers are gearing up to take on the Golden State Warriors at the legendary Chase Center. This contest is set to be a clash of titans, featuring two squads with distinct play styles and strengths, ensuring a spectacle of strategic prowess and explosive gameplay. Riding the high of a dominant victory over the Pistons, the Pacers stride into this face-off with wind in their sails. Boasting the league's leading offense with an average of 122.8 points per game at a blistering 50.5% field goal accuracy, they've been nothing less than a scoring phenomenon. Spearheaded by the dynamic duo of Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton, Indiana has proven their capability to rain buckets from all over the hardwood. Yet, their defensive game has been their weak spot, with opponents scoring 120.7 points against them on average, which nudges them towards the lower echelons in defensive rankings. Conversely, the Golden State Warriors, coming off a win against the Grizzlies, bring their unique arsenal to the fray. With Stephen Curry continually pushing the boundaries of three-point wizardry, alongside sharpshooters like Klay Thompson and Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors are a threat from deep. Scoring an average of 118.6 points on 47.4% shooting, their offensive machinery is well-oiled and deadly. Their defense, however, shows similar vulnerabilities to the Pacers, conceding 116.8 points on average. The intrigue of this matchup lies in the collision of Indiana's league-topping offense against Golden State's masterful three-point barrage. Indiana's prowess in neutralizing the three-point threat could tip the scales, particularly against a Warriors outfit that flourishes from long range. Additionally, the Pacers' recent performances on the road add another layer of excitement to this showdown. Past encounters at the Chase Center have been nothing short of electrifying, with victories evenly split. However, given Indiana's current momentum and their strategic edge in three-point defense, they might just snag the win in this round. Despite both teams showing defensive lapses, Indiana's offensive efficiency and road dominance could be the deciding factor. Injury updates could sway the game's direction, but as of now, both teams boast a healthy roster. Despite the Warriors' advantage of playing at home and Curry's magic touch, they face a stiff challenge from a Pacers side adept at outscoring adversaries. After analyzing the stats and considering Indiana's knack for beating the spread as road underdogs, I predict the Pacers won't just beat the 5-point spread but could clinch the victory outright. Their superior offense, coupled with their ability to clamp down on three-point attempts, places them in a favorable position against the Warriors. Expect a scorefest where Indiana's attacking flair decides the outcome in a nail-biter. To wrap up, while the Warriors' prowess at home and their star-studded lineup are formidable, the offensive powerhouse of the Pacers and their recent away game successes slightly tip the balance in their favor. This matchup is set to be a high-scoring affair, with Indiana's efficiency from the perimeter and their defense against the three-pointer being the key to overcoming the Warriors. My money is on the Pacers to cover the 5-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Los Angeles Clippers and Portland Trail Blazers. As the Los Angeles Clippers gear up to take on the Portland Trail Blazers at the Moda Center, the stage is set for an electrifying Friday night showdown in the NBA. Fresh off a win over the Blazers, and despite recent setbacks against the Pelicans and Hawks, the Clippers are showing a mix of results. Yet, they shine with an impressive average of 116.5 points at a 49.1% field goal rate, while their defense concedes 112.5 points at 46.9%. With Kawhi Leonard and Paul George consistently lighting up the scoreboard and James Harden masterfully orchestrating the offense, the Clippers' scoring prowess is a force to be reckoned with. Their standing at fifth in both offensive rating and true shooting percentage underscores their ability to score efficiently from anywhere on the court. Meanwhile, the Portland Trail Blazers are hitting a rough patch, with recent defeats to the Knicks, Pelicans, Bulls, and Clippers. Averaging 107.5 points on 44.2% shooting, their offensive efforts are overshadowed by their defensive struggles, allowing 115.8 points on 49.2% shooting. Despite Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant's talent, the Blazers can't seem to find their groovy, further hampered by injuries to crucial players. A look at the analytics shows the Clippers excel in three-point shooting and free throws, ranking third in the NBA for beyond the arc. Their defense, although not impenetrable, has been effective in reducing opponents' scoring chances. The Blazers face challenges in maintaining offensive consistency and tightening their defense, especially in rim protection and turnover control. The historical face-offs in the city hosting tonight's clash show the Clippers' dominance over the Blazers in recent encounters. This, combined with the Blazers' offensive woes and the Clippers' well-rounded game, suggests a possible outcome for the match. Considering team dynamics, injury reports, and performance stats, the Clippers are the favorites. Their superior offensive and defensive records, particularly in away games, position them ahead of the Blazers. The Blazers' offensive shortcomings and defensive issues, worsened by key injuries, further skew the odds in favor of Los Angeles. Based on this analysis and the Clippers' strength versus the Blazers' form, my forecast favors the Los Angeles Clippers not just to win, but to also surpass the 11.5-point spread set by oddsmakers. The Clippers' dynamic attack and more consistent defense make them the dominant team in this matchup. Despite expectations for a competitive game, the Clippers' depth and strategic execution should prevail, making them the smart bet for this game. My pick is the Los Angeles Clippers to triumph and beat the 11-point spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between Philadelphia 76ers and Los Angeles Lakers. In the electric ambiance of the Crypto.com arena, the Philadelphia 76ers are squaring off against the Los Angeles Lakers in a much-awaited NBA face-off. Despite Joel Embiid riding the pine, the 76ers have shown some serious grit, snagging wins against top-tier squads. Yet, their recent outings reveal a squad trying to find its groove, especially when the pressure cranks up without their MVP candidate hitting the hardwood. On the flip side, the Lakers are lighting up the scoreboard, powered by the dynamite duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Their recent W against the Hawks signals a possible shift in the winds, one they're eager to ride. Clocking in at an average of 117.5 points with a scorching 49.9% from the field, the Lakers' scoring juggernaut, with D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves adding fuel to the fire, is dialed in for the upcoming battles. Head-to-head stats lean heavily towards the Lakers, especially with their sharpshooting from downtown and inside the paint. This advantage is key, as nailing shots often spells the difference in nail-biters. Plus, their record at the Crypto.com arena adds an extra layer of home court magic in their favor. Even with the Sixers flexing their muscles and Tyrese Maxey emerging as an offensive powerhouse, their inconsistency on the road and sans Embiid leaves them exposed. The Lakers, in contrast, have shown they can turn up the heat when it matters most, backed by a deep bench ready to patch up any defensive cracks. Given the current dynamics, injury updates, and Embiid's notable absence, the scales tip towards the Los Angeles Lakers. Their sharpshooting, bench depth, and home turf edge paint them as the frontrunners to not just clinch the win, but also breeze past the 7.5-point spread set by the odds makers. Expect an offensive fireworks show, likely driving the total points past the 224.5 mark. In summary, the Lakers' star-studded lineup, offensive firepower, and stronghold at home are set to propel them to victory in this high-stakes clash. The Sixers, despite their tenacity, might find it tough to match pace without their ace, Embiid, making the Lakers the smart pick to win and beat the spread.